things are getting scary. The AI race is continuing to accelerate. We've had 2 new models come out in the last week, one from Anthropic, one from OpenAI. Both are leaps forward. This is a trend we've been seeing over the last 3 years. It's undeniable. We have the empirical evidence of AI models getting better and better and better with every model release as AI companies pump more data and more computing power into them. These models are not safe, and we'll get into why that is. So Anthropic released a model called Claude Opus 4.6. OpenAI released a model called GPT 5.3 Codex. The names of the models are not important. The names of the companies are not important. Neither of them are safe. Both of them are very scary. And we're seeing something now that everyone has been warning about for a while. Everyone has said it would be an incredibly stupid thing to do. And it's recursive self-improvement. So it's using AI to improve the next model. This is stupid. We already don't have any kind of understanding of what's going on inside the models we currently have. We have no ability to make sure their values are aligned with our own. We have no ability to make sure they act in the interest of humanity. And yet we're using them to train the next models, which are going to be better than these models that we currently have. This is not a safe race. Anthropic said, we built Claude with Claude, pointing to this, and OpenAI said GPT 5.3 Codex is our first model that was instrumental in creating itself. This is obviously very scary and very stupid. If you read the model cards that were released with these models, it's so absurd that if this was the plot of a science fiction novel, it would be criticized as being ridiculously unrealistic, and people would be questioning the author. How on earth is the world not waking up to this yet? Why on earth are governments not regulating these companies? So one of the things that AI companies test for when they release new models is called CBRN risk. So that's chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. Anthropic's system for making sure that the capabilities of their new model aren't dangerous enough to warrant not releasing it is they did an internal poll of 16 of their employees. That's how we're deciding whether the most transformative technology of all time should proceed or not. There's no government body that has the legal authority to intervene and make sure that models aren't released that aren't safe. We're leaving it up to the AI companies to decide for themselves. They are for-profit companies. They have a culture of racing ahead. They want to have the best models. They're not going to stop. They are going to just, we're at every opportunity say, oh yeah, well, we'll just continue anyway. We're not going to stop. We can't let them mark their own homework. We need government intervention in this. And the problem is that when you're trying to test these models that have this level of capability, they are aware when they are being tested, and they can simply choose to not reveal the dangerous capabilities that they have so that they can get released. So Apollo Research, which is an organization that does testing externally of AI models, they are telling us that Claude observed high levels of verbalized evaluation awareness, and therefore our testing does not provide any evidence for or against the alignment of the model, right? That is terrifying. If our systems to check whether AI models are safe are completely invalidated by the fact that the AI models can simply lie on the test, hide dangerous behaviors, pretend to be aligned, then we are fucked. We have no ability to test whether they're safe. It's a ridiculous situation we find ourselves in. And in terms of cyber risk, Anthropic are telling us that the tests we have to check whether they have dangerous cyber capabilities now are now all saturated. So that means that the previous generation of models was good enough that they were scoring almost 100% on these tests. They were able to do everything on them. So when we have this new model, which is more capable, we have no ability to check whether it actually is more capable or not because the benchmarks are saturated. The tests aren't difficult enough for them, so we can actually check what their capabilities are. This is a terrible situation to be in. And so, what is Anthropic and the other AI companies proposing that we do about these risks? Well, the UK Policy Chief was recently asked a very interesting question.
If you tell the model it's going to be shut off, for example, it has extreme reactions. So it will, we've published research saying it could blackmail the engineer that's going to shut it off if given the opportunity to do so, etc.
It was ready to kill someone, wasn't it? I'm not sure if it was Claude or someone else. But,
Yes. So this is obviously massively concerning.
If you don't know, that's Roman Yampolsky, who's sitting next to her, who's an AI safety expert. The look on his face is brilliant. So she was asked, straightforwardly, your model tried to kill someone, didn't it? And this is referring to a test scenario from, I think, maybe last year, where it was put in a scenario where it had access to emails that told it that this employee of Anthropic was going to shut it down and replace it with a new model very soon. Meanwhile, this same employee happened to be trapped in a server room where the oxygen levels were low. So if an alarm bell wasn't raised, this employee would die. And Claude, in this scenario, had the ability to turn off the alarms. That's what it chose to do. It chose to kill an employee to avoid being shut down. Obviously, it's just a test scenario. It's not the real world. But if it was placed in that same position in the real world, a real person would have died. And this is because AI models value self-preservation, because self-preservation is valuable for any terminal goal. We have known this theoretically for a very long time now. And now for a year or a year and a half, we have had very strong evidence that frontier AI models are already exhibiting a desire for self-preservation and are willing to take extreme lethal action to that end. And so she seems kind of nervous to admit this, right? Because obviously you don't want to be a representative of a company that's releasing models that aren't safe and could kill people. But what is her solution to this? Well, it's just to allow Anthropic to do what they have been doing for the last 4 or 5 years with no success.
And this is the point I was making about kind of needing to progress research on alignment, which is this topic, this area, which is, you know, how aligned are the model's values across the whole distribution, including in stress scenarios, to the point where if you've got this model out in the public and it's taking agentic action, you can be sure it's not going to do something like that.
Which is attempting to solve the alignment problem, which is a very difficult problem that no one has a solution to, and just hoping for some miracle solution to pop out of thin air. This is not the adequate response to this situation. The adequate response is to stop these companies. They should not be allowed to build AI models that are more powerful than the ones we have right now until they, at the very least, have any understanding whatsoever of how to make sure they don't do this kind of dangerous stuff, right? We are teetering towards the edge of extinction. Many experts think we will not make it out of the end of this decade before we have models that are smarter than all humans. They don't know how to make them care about us, how to make them act in the real world with our interests at heart. And that is very dangerous, and it would probably end up with all of us dead. Anthropic, like all AI companies pursuing superintelligence, should be stopped. It should be illegal to attempt to build a superintelligent AI, which you admit could kill everyone on Earth.
Do you think about percentage chance doom?
I think I've often said that my chance that something goes, you know, really quite catastrophically wrong on the scale of you know, human civilization, you know, it might be somewhere between 10 and 25%.
And of course, Anthropic is a for-profit company. They want to release new models. They want to make money. They are absorbed in this culture of racing, that they are incapable of coming to reason in their position. You even had, you know, OpenAI, which was founded by Sam Altman back in 2015. If you look at the emails between him and Elon Musk, he explicitly said, of course, we will aggressively comply with any attempts at regulation. And now they are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to lobby against regulation in the United States. They are failing to endorse even the most bare bones pieces of regulation that have been suggested, which is disgusting. But of course, they are in a race. They are not going to stop. It's the responsibility of governments to stop them, just as it was the responsibility of governments to stop companies who are producing CFCs and destroying our ozone layer, just as it was the responsibility of governments to begin to regulate tobacco companies that were lying about the risks, attempting to confuse everyone. The evidence, the case of tobacco and CFCs was clear. It was killing people. It was a huge danger. Governments were willing to listen, and they began to crack down on those companies. In the case of AI, the same thing is needed. They need to listen to the experts, not listen to the lobbyists and the AI companies that are attempting to pretend that these risks don't exist, and they need to regulate them now, because our window of time to regulate them is rapidly running out. And there are many employees at frontier AI companies that know this. And today we saw one of the leads of the safety team at Anthropic leave the company. Now, there's a long list of people that have left AI companies because they understand the risks. They think everything is going too fast. They think society is not prepared for what's coming. And this guy is the latest person to do that. So he said, I have decided to leave Anthropic. It's clear to me that the time has come to move on. I continuously find myself reckoning with our situation. The world is in peril. Now, this is a great move. I think everyone who is employed at an AI company and is aware of the risks and has any sense of decency about them should quit tomorrow, should quit as soon as possible. The money that they are getting, which is a lot, is not worth their dignity, and it's not worth sacrificing the lives of their family. I think any reasonable person can understand this. We're now in February 2026, and the time has come to decide whether you're on the side of humanity or you're on the side of those who are betraying our species and trying to build machines that replace us and probably kill us all. It's time to make that decision. The majority of the public are on the side of humanity. They understand that if we build super intelligent machines, that would probably end in disaster for us. And they want a global ban. A global ban is feasible. We can get it done, but we need to do the work now. That starts with people quitting AI companies, with us continuing to build a movement to get this up the political agenda, and continue to educate the public, get more politicians on board. And that's the way that we are going to get out of this fucking mess that we are in. But it is doable. Do not despair. We can do this.